Good evening, everyone. This is Scott, and welcome to the weekly trade report video for the week of November 6th, 2016. So we're going to go over some index charts as well as some charts that were on our list last week, as well as some setups coming up for this week. So first up, I just wanted to take a look at the SPY, which is the S&P 500 ETF. And last week's trade report video, I mentioned this descending triangle pattern that was playing out as we broke below this 212 spot, and the market has just continued down from that spot there. So, I mean, the market's been in this bearish trend. Basically, 9 out of the last 10 days have been red. So, you know, maybe it's due to the election uncertainty, things like that. But it's starting to show maybe a sign of a bounce, but it's too early yet to say what it's going to do. So, at this point, the markets still are bearish in my opinion. So we'll just keep that in mind going into this next week here. So that's the SPY. And then also if we look at the Russell 2000 index, this one actually broke down below this 120 support, and then, you know, very similar to the SPY, it's just been basically a downtrend. You know, it's got a little bit of bounce here on Friday, but to me it's still just too early to say to go long the major indexes or anything like that. So the market's still in a bearish state at this point. So, and then the next index chart I'll look at is the IBB. So the IBB looks interesting here. I've mentioned this I think last week on last week's video, but if we look at long term for the IBB, it's got some support down in here around 240 in the 250 range. You can see it's tapped it. This is a 200-day chart, so once, twice, 3, 4 times it's found support in this area, and then on Friday had a really nice bounce. So, you know, the IBB is a sector I think that is something to watch here. Going to next week, there's not really any charts in the sector other than maybe AIMT that look decent. So, but anyway, it's a potential bottom, potential area of support down here that we can keep an eye on here for the biotech sector. So next we'll go through some charts, both on our main watch list, top trade ideas, as well as some other names on the list, and then some charts from last week that played out. So first off, let's take a look at AIMT. So this one has been on our chart, on our watch list for I think the last couple weeks here, looking for basically a breakout through this 1720 spot somewhere in this area here. And so, you know, it had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then finally it broke out on big volume down here. And so this one, if you actually could have gotten in around let's see, the low of Friday was around 1725. So anywhere in that area on the breakout would have been a good entry here on this one, because it had everything you're looking for. Had the breakout through key resistance on big volume. So, you know, intraday pullbacks to these support levels are actually good buying spots, and then it closed all the way up here near 18. So this one, you know, is it going to trade sideways and then head higher? Probably, but I do like this one as a swing trade. I think this one is beginning a new longer term uptrend. And besides that, you know, it's in a sector that's bearish, and this is showing some really high relative strength. So if the IBB does bottom out and turn up, then this one would probably be a leader in that sector. So this is a very nice chart, AIMT, for next week. Next up, let's look at my current favorite sector right now, which is the marijuana sector. And we've mentioned this, I've been going over this for a while. I've been doing really well trading these things, and, you know, once again, it's due to the elections and all of the ballot initiatives, particularly California, that's most likely going to legalize recreational marijuana. And so, you know, these things are running up ahead of that, and, you know, are they going to continue through the elections? I don't know, but to me, they don't look like they're done yet. So I'll keep watching them, keep playing them, as long as they continue this momentum. But this one is one I traded a while back here on this breakout through this spot here. I sold up here somewhere in 80 cents, but it's pulled back now, and it's a breakout pullback setup. So it pulled all the way back here to around, you know, 0.005, and then now it's starting to perk up again, and I just think this one can go up to potentially 1 cent. You know, so this was you know, it's a penny play, but it's got a nice pattern and it looks good. So ICBU looks good. See, MSRT is another one, and I think I posted this on social media, but it's got this solid trend here where, you know, three green days, 2 days of pullback, and then ramps up to new highs, pull back for a couple days, ramp to new highs. So this stair step, you know, along this trend line here, and it appears that it's doing exactly that now. So you're watching this. I think it actually closed up here around 95, 96 cents. So this E-Trade Pro chart here is not exactly accurate right now. So anyway, this is MSRT, which is a marijuana play. Let's see, next up, let's look at US Steel. So one thing I have noticed is all these steel names have started to perk up. There's probably about 4 of them, and they've all got some nice chart patterns. So steel, US Steel here, you know, basically has a spot here through, you know, 2030, somewhere in there, but it's starting to, you know, somewhere in this spot here, but it has a nice chart here. It looks like it's bottoming, and a break through that 2030 area looks pretty good here. US Steel, not a big mover, but is in the steel sector. So continuing with the steel sector is Nucor, very similar pattern. It's right here, right around 50. It's got resistance there, and it looks like it might want to break out through that. So there's Nucor, and then the last one is AK Steel, which, you know, you can see this. Basically, it's put in this bottom pattern, and it's starting to put in the series of, you know, higher highs and higher lows, and this one's about to break out through this recent high. So the steel names, you know, US Steel, AK Steel, STLD, just Steel Dynamics, they all look pretty good right here, which is very rare, you know, because there's no other sectors other than the marijuana sector that actually have sector strength through a number of names in the sector. So the steel stocks look pretty good here. Next up, we'll look at Twitter. So Twitter is not a bad looking chart, and, you know, it actually has a spot, looks like right around, let's see if I can, this 18, you know, just over 18, maybe 1820 spot, and kind of an ascending triangle pattern here. But if you so it looks like it could get a pop through there, but what bothers me is that, you know, you've got all these buyers up here at around $25, and this thing just tanked. So you get all these, you know, overhead resistance, which makes it very difficult for a stock to move when you got a lot of overhead resistance like that. So from that perspective, you know, Twitter's, you know, not as good as you'd like it to be. So, but not a bad looking chart. So there's Twitter. Let's see, ATRS. This was one that was on our radar, and it just looks, right now I was thinking it was going to hold this like 165 area, somewhere in this area, support, and it failed. So it's also a biotech. So this is just one on our watch list that we were looking for, basically a breakout through the 180, and it didn't do it. So that's why, you know, you got to wait for that breakout before you actually pull the trigger, or if you do, make sure you put your stop in so that you don't get this you know, move against you so big like that. But so we'll keep an eye on this one. Maybe it recovers, gets back up here. You know, actually it looks like maybe there's some support right here around 150 area, something like that. But so there's one that didn't work out like we thought it was. Let's see, CNXC. This one actually still looks pretty good. Looks developing. You know, maybe it looks like around $18 a share here. It's kind of poked its head through a few times here, but it's still following. If you go back, you know, this trend line here. So this one I still like, CNXC. So I think this one could actually make a move next week. So CYBE. So CYBE is a really good looking chart here. It's been basing here for several weeks, and now it's starting to perk up here. So it's got this basically sideways range here, and looking for a breakout through maybe you know, 25.50 spot somewhere in here. You know, that would be the clean breakouts up here near 26, a little bit, or through 26. But I would actually use maybe this spot right around here for a break. So this one looks pretty good. CYBE. So Tiffany, this one's been basing for quite a while, right around this 74 spot, and it's also coming up, converging on its 50-day moving average, which could act as a very key level for it to bounce off of. But Tiffany looks really good here. It's not a big mover, but through 74, this thing can get a move. So this is a larger cap company, not as volatile as some of the other names, but nevertheless, it's a nice chart. It's a nice pattern here, Tiffany and Company. Next up, we'll look at SXCP. So this one, you know, I've kept this one on our watch list because it had this nice breakout through this 1560 area, and then it created this nice little tight flag formation, just like this, you know, after the breakout, which indicated it was going to go higher, and that's exactly what it did. So it broke out and continued up there, so it's still making new highs, you know, and so this is a good example of, you know, a breakout, and then it just, if they trade in a tight range after the breakout, that usually implies they're going to head higher. You know, sometimes they'll actually pull back to support and then head higher. And this one, you know, other than this one red candle pullback here, it just traded sideways in a tight range and just started taking off again. So, you know, keep an eye on these things once they break out, and if they start forming these type of patterns, usually good to, you know, add to the position, or at least carry some of your original position longer term. And this SXCP is a good example of that. So, Wendy's. So Wendy's is, you know, it's been basing here. It's been testing this 11 spot multiple times, just trading in a sideways pattern, also converging on its 50-day. So this one actually, once again, not a volatile name, but it does look like it wants to get through 11 here in the near future. So I'd keep an eye on Wendy's. You know, once again, bigger cap company, so not as volatile, but nevertheless, it's a nice sideways consolidation that looks like it wants to break out through 11. Let's see, AHGP. So AHGP is, this one had a nice formation, basically an ascending triangle breakout through this 2820 spot, and this is a breakout pullback. So it's you know, had this nice ascending triangle type pattern here, and it broke out, and then now it's pulled all the way back to support. So this one would be one to watch for a support bounce, and in fact you can extend this support line all the way up here, and you can see where it's basically a convergence of, you know, horizontal support and a trend line support, where it's finding support there. So this one looks good for a bounce off of this this key level here around 2820. That's AHGP. CRK, another very similar pattern to AHGP, where I had this key breakout spot here, broke it, and then now it's all the way back here. 850, it closed right at 850. So this one, if you're going to trade it, you can use, you know, a very tight stop here, maybe the low of Friday, and then look for this one to bounce off of this level, because this is a key support at 850. So another breakout pullback there, CRK. CTRV. So this one, once again, it's a biotech pharmaceutical company. Sector's been weak, but had a monster run up, and then it's just been, it pulled back, and I thought it was going to bounce, and it did, but it only bounced for one day, and then just kind of, it's been just kind of sideways since then. But the real key here is around this right around 240 spot, which happens to be, you know, basically the high back here, and then it ramped up and then pulled back right near that level, and then a few days ago ramped up near there and pulled all the way back there. So I think eventually this thing is going to ramp up, and you know, if the biotechs start to perk up, you know, through that 240 spot, and because it's actually, you know, it has a huge run up, and then now it's just kind of trading sideways. So if the sector picks up again, this one is one of the top ones to watch, is CTRV. Next up is another marijuana play here. So this one, a couple patterns here to look at on MNTR. First of all, back here it had this clean break up out through like 90 cents here, and then so this one, let's see. This all here. All right. So it had a breakout and then it pulled all the way back to that 90 cents level, which would be an entry point, and then it just ramped right back up near the recent highs. And then so it had a, last couple days it got rejected, didn't make a new high, but it's still on watch here. Maybe this thing turns up and makes a new high. It's in the marijuana sector, MNTR. So I'm watching this one for a breakout through this recent high. So keep an eye on that one. Pura, this is a new weed play that I found that is really a volatile mover. And so this one had a big move, pull back for several days, and then ramp back up, I think 100% this day. And then I was looking to enter on a pullback to this 5 spot, and this is, it flushed out all the way back down here. So I actually entered somewhere in the, a little above 4 cents, and then it ramped all the way and closed above this recent high around 5 cents. So this one, once again, if the sector remains strong, I think this one could continue its upside momentum here, because intraday it flushed below this support and then it just closed right back above it. So I'm actually doing pretty good on this position right now on Pura. So it's just another weed play. Let's see, MSIG is, so the MSIG, we traded this one. I did really well with this one. You had this spot here right around 13 cents, had this nice ascending triangle, and basically it broke out on big volume and then had another big day here, got all the way to 20 cents, even though intraday it flushed all the way back down here, closed up here near 17 cents, and then it kind of flushed. See, this showing a closing price of 15 cents. It actually closed right above 16. I'm not sure why E-Trade Pro is showing these wrong quotes here, but anyway, it closed right around 16.2, I think. But but it did have a nice pullback here, and I mentioned on social media that this 13 to 14 area right in here was a key level of support, and if you would have bought it, you'd be up a couple pennies or more from your entry. So it's pretty big percentage gain there. But anyway, I still like this one. I think this one, MSIG, could go higher here if the sector remains strong. This is one of the stronger ones in the sector right now. So I do like MSIG. And let's see, was there anything else that I wanted to talk about tonight? Yeah, so overall, it's just the marijuana theme continues, and some people are, they've been running since basically September 1st, so they've been maybe a couple months now. They've been running. The how far they got to go, I don't know, but I do know that I've done really well with them, and I'll continue to trade them. And I know some of you guys may or may not trade the OTCs, but they are providing some good patterns and some good trading opportunities. Other than that, the steel names look good. Almost all the steel names look really good. And just look at one more I think we didn't talk about. STLD, this one had a big move, and we were looking for a breakout through, it's on our watch list, out of this little flag type formation. And it broke out and kind of pulled back. But this one is also, looks like it wants to break and continue higher through maybe 28 spot. So one thing about the steel sector right now is there's uniform strength, which is what you want to see, sector-wide strength, which I haven't seen that anywhere else. So the steel names, marijuana names, biotechs look like they're right around support levels. So biotech could be finding a bottom here. And I think that's all I got for now, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. If you have any subjects you want me to do videos on or anything like that, feel free to shoot me an email or on social media. I'd love to hear you guys, your feedback, how you're trading, any successes, failures, anything like that. I'd love to talk to you guys. So hope you guys have a good evening, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.